Brought to you by...
Today we explore the question that Hitchcock asked in 1954. What would you do if you witnessed someone commit a crime, but you were powerless to do anything about it? He, of course, did it far better, but, you know, here we are regardless. Hello friends, and welcome back to ETF, where today we introduce you to Anna Fox, an agoraphobic child psychologist who finds herself keeping tabs on the picture-perfect family across the street through the windows of her New York City brownstone. Her life is turned upside down when she inadvertently witnesses a brutal crime. Shocking secrets are revealed, and nothing and no one are what they seem to be. Based on the gripping, best-selling novel and adapted by Tracy Letts, this is a Hitchcockian thriller, which is very much a rip-off retelling of Rear Window, which the film literally references by having it flashing across a screen during the opening moments, as we are introduced to the space in which this story is going to unfold. This film features an all-star cast consisting of Amy Adams, Julianne Moore, Gary Oldman, Anthony Mackie, and Wyatt Russell. Our protagonist here is a broken woman in her middle ages, attempting to recover from a trauma that has left her agoraphobic. We learn early on that she was a former psychologist. She is currently in therapy herself, recovering from whatever happened to her. And she spends her days watching the neighbors and observing the world outside that she is no longer a part of. Each night she suffers from nightmares that seem to be fragments of some sort of repressed memories. These nightmares are built into a bit of a reveal for our character once the plot carries us into the finale. And this was probably the part of the film I found the most enjoyment in. The film does try to fill out smaller details that add to its themes. One that's worth mentioning is the fact that her house is suffering from some incredible signs of disrepair. The roof and skylight has severe water damage. Many of the walls show signs of cracking, peeling wallpaper, and paint. This makes the setting of our story a reflection of our protagonist, since she keeps herself so isolated from the world outside. She also allowed her home to wither and die in her grief the way she has. The decor of the house is very much locked in the trauma of her past. It's unlikely that she's gotten any new furniture or anything since the accident that caused her condition. I mean, look at this place. It could use some sprucing up. Maybe a fresh coat of paint here, a new piece of art there. And I know just where she can get some great movie-related art to adorn her walls. From this video's sponsor, Movie Palette. Movie Palette is an eye-catching and unique piece of artwork that holds a deep secret. Your friends and family will be intrigued by the fascinating story that each Movie Palette has to tell. Movie palettes consist of stripes of color, carefully chosen by their teams of artists. Each stripe represents a color of a particular scene in a movie. Each stripe is then put into chronological order, giving you a perfect representation of your favorite films in one beautiful work of art. The effect is a stunning and accurate representation of the colors and vibrancy found in your favorite movies. As its secret is revealed, Movie Palette is sure to become a conversation piece as you try and guess which color represents which scene. The best part about these, for me, is that it's a piece of art that showcases the visual look of a film through the captivating color palette that makes it capture our imaginations. Not often do we see the color of a film so beautifully celebrated, which is why ETF has partnered with Movie Palette to bring you this exclusive offer. Head on over to moviepalette.com, pick the movie palette of your favorite film, and use the promo code EMBRACE15 at checkout to get 15% off your purchase. That's EMBRACE15 to get 15% off your purchase from Movie Palette. Now let's get back to the video. An interesting thing that I began to notice was the way that each of our characters from the family across the street seemed to act with a slightly head-in-the-clouds demeanor. On the first night that her new neighbors move in across the street, she's visited by their nearly 16-year-old son, who very clearly seems to have some sort of mental disorder. She is then later visited by his mother, who also acts very strange and flighty, as if she's not quite all there. At first I had read this as a way to distinguish outside people from our protagonist, but it is later revealed to be for far more specific reasons. The majority of this one plays out much like your standard psychological thriller, setting up our central protagonists, antagonists, and potential victims, before the violence that is boiling to the surface begins to rear its ugly head in the house across the street. The remainder plays out much like any thriller you would expect, forcing our protagonist into a place where all the odds are stacked up against her, and no one outside of her believes that what she saw is real. This one, however, adds additional layers to this against all odds dynamic, by having our protagonist additionally on medications for her agoraphobia, as well as enjoying a little too much wine on occasion. Throughout the film, our protagonist speaks regularly to her husband over the phone. Throughout these interactions, she bounces information off of him, and he tells her what she needs to hear, the hard truths. Later it's revealed to us that her family is gone because of a mistake she made. Her family lost their lives because she caused the accident that took them. Throughout this film, he has been her conscience, trying to talk her down and force her to move on. The reveal of her psychosis speaks measures to her situation. Not only is she suffering from the loss of her family and from the pain of her mistakes, but now she is punishing herself for it, keeping herself imprisoned within this house because she doesn't deserve to live when they are gone. This reveal turns her immediately into an unreliable protagonist for this narrative. Beyond this point, we cannot completely trust in what she says or does. Visually, the film is spectacularly presented, utilizing these beautiful, surreal images that break free of her subconscious and invade the prison that she has made for herself. The narrative builds to a sudden twist at the end that did take me by surprise. I certainly didn't expect what was coming, however, it sort of left a sour taste in my mouth. Throughout this overly grand climax, the camera work became overly complex, with wide, sweeping camera moves that felt like they sprang forth from a fucking Marvel movie, and a twist that honestly went off the rails a little too far for my taste. I have to give The Woman in the Window a C. Not only did this one take its elements a little too far in the wrong direction for me, but it's a blatant ripoff of a far better, some would say, classic thriller that attempts to mask its similarities as homage. This is one of those cash grabs that recycles an older concept, giving it a fresh coat of paint, in order to hopefully make a quick buck. Personally, if this is an accurate representation of the book, that was ripped off too. I will not go as far as to say that this one is bad by any means. The performances are solid, set design is strong, and the editing keeps the story moving at a brisk and fluid pace. It does a good job for what it is. It's just too similar to something better in my opinion. Well, friends, that's going to bring this one to an end. If you enjoyed this video and you want to help support this channel a little, please consider checking us out over on Patreon. Every little bit helps this channel grow, and you can get some fun little rewards just for our supporters. Until next time, stay safe, and as always, thanks for watching.